Hey, all you big, beautiful souls out there. Aralamb wanted to come on today and talk about something that is really a difficult kind of subject to talk about, and that is the idea of sort of loss and grieving. And we get a ton of questions in sessions from people and also, from the book and different things about how to deal with loss and grief and sometimes how people can get really stuck in loss and grief. And so Aralam wants to speak a little bit about this to you today. And please understand too that in our spiritual growth time right now on the planet, and I know this for my own sort of even personal life, that oftentimes the spiritual kind of I don't want to say the spiritual machine, but in other words, there's a lot of spiritual information out there. And very often, the spiritual information that comes through tends to be, I think, particularly where grief and loss are involved, can seem sort of like platitudes, like not very usable or not very understandable. And also that it somehow belittles the fact that people have losses. I've had losses. And it's not as easy as just sort of saying, well, I'm going to get over this loss now, regardless of what that loss is. And so before I have Aralam talk about kind of where he comes from with this, I just want you to know, as a human being to you, another human being, that never are the lessons spiritually meant to somehow belittle the idea about grief or how deeply affected people are by grief, the loss of things in the lifetime, whether it's a person or a situation. But I want you to understand that as a human being, who just happens to be doing this spiritual work with Aralam, I'm fully aware of the idea and have had losses of my own that felt sort of unsurmountable. But Aralam wants to talk about the fact that they are surmountable and they're survivable and they're healable, and how to do that. So I'm going to hand it over to Aralam, but I send out all of my love and respect to any of you that are listening to this. And there's no one on the planet who hasn't had one loss or another, but the idea that this is important information and that it's not to be taken lightly in any kind of way. So that being said, I will hand it over to Aralam. Aralam speaking. Welcome to this short talk about grief and loss and the overcoming of that. Grief and loss from a spiritual and a physical standpoint are very, very different. So you can be a soul who has a loss of a person that you love, the loss of a career, the loss of a home, a relationship, a marriage. Physically, that loss will energetically truly feel as though your body is having a kind of death of its own. Now, I don't mean to say this, still Aralam speaking. I don't mean to say this that energetically you have died because of the loss that your body is physically experiencing. What I am meaning to say is that the loss of a soul, the loss of a marriage, the loss of a child, a loved one, a career, a home, the loss of what you thought that your lifetime arc moving forward was going to be, that does affect your physical body as if you have been, as Melissa might say, hit by a truck. So physically, you absolutely have to give your body time to sort of get over that energetic blow of the loss. Now, where it comes to your spiritual, here is what I will say to you, and I'm glad that Melissa started this by saying, I am in no way inferring that this is easy or that it's something that is not valid to feel stuck or unable to move forward after having lost a loved one, a child, a partner, a lover, all of these things. However, from a spiritual point of view, if you have lost a loved one and they have passed over, if you have lost your mate in this world, if you have lost a child, if you have lost a parent, anyone that you love, that soul would have been in contract with you and most likely in your core group. So you would have at some level been understanding in the lifetime that they would leave the earth before you. Now, this is the part that's so incredibly important. When you lose a soul out of your life and they've now passed back over, you have a right to have your incredible spiritual and physical pain. And you can stay in that place for as long as you choose. But the more quickly you begin to move to the next phase, which is not forgetting them, but being grateful that they were in your lifetime and then releasing them to their next journey, the more you're helping them in the creation, or what Melissa refers to as the lobby, still Aralamb speaking. So this is a literal, spiritual, energetic fact. If you have just lost your love partner, your husband, your wife, your partner in life, take the time that you need to mourn them. But at some point, and I'm going to say as soon as you're capable of emotionally and intellectually grasping it, start to feel grateful that they were in your world, and then release them. Wish them a safe journey until you see them again. Because by doing this, you're fulfilling the contract that you would have made with them. What it means is that the longer that you suffer, the longer that you sit frozen in the feeling of loss, the longer that you determine that you will not move forward, or that you cannot move forward without this soul in this lifetime arc, the longer you sit in that decision to not move forward and not find joy again, the more connected they become to you in a way that is not what your contract would have been. This is why often souls will tell their loved ones who they're leaving behind before they leave the planet. They'll say, I want you to go on. I want you to enjoy your life. I want you to find a new mate. I want you to live your life joyfully. I want you to think of me, but I want you to live your life joyfully. And the reason that some souls will say this when they're still on the planet is because deep down they understand that this loved one that they're leaving, they're going to see again, and they still have work to do on the planet. This brings me to my final piece of information here, still Aralamb speaking. If your loved one, child, parent, friend, whatever it is that you've lost, even if it's that you've lost a marriage, you've lost a friendship, you've lost a home, you've lost a career, whatever you have lost in this lifetime, if you're still here within a lifetime in a body, it's because you meant it to be that way. So you're meant to move forward. Still Aralamb speaking. You're meant to move forward. And if you don't start thinking about your life that way, if you've lost your partner and it's been 2 years and you are still standing in the sorrow and you are refusing to move forward as a soul on the planet, then you are not within your timeline, because you're never meant to do that. And the soul that left before you would never want you to do that. Now, it doesn't mean it won't hurt. It doesn't mean that your feelings aren't valid. What it does mean is that if you truly loved the soul who left your life, then you need to stand up and you need to begin to heal. And if that means that every morning you wake up and you say, I know that you're traveled on and I've loved you in this lifetime and I will love you again. But now I want to thank you for your presence, and I'm going to start to move forward in my life again as a fully functioning human, because the fact that they left before you would have been something that you knew was coming on some subliminal level. So I hope that this helps you, because the very best thing that you can do for lost loved ones and for yourself is to heal, heal, heal. You are not doing anything wrong. You're not doing them a disservice by staying in the kind of sorrow phase. And if you move forward, you're helping them. So you healing is not a disservice to the loved one that left before you. It's actually the very best and highest thing that you can do for them. And you will see them again. You will see them again. I hope this helps for you. I hope that this helps you to begin to think about and expect yourself to be able to move forward, because loss and grief are some of the most difficult lessons that souls will put into their lifetime. So if you're dealing with that, still Aralamb speaking, if you're stuck in loss and grief, you've got to start thinking that moving forward and healing, if you can't do it for yourself, then do it for the soul that left, because when you heal, they're released from your pain. They're released from your sorrow. And this is what we need to do for each other. I thank you for being here. Okay, so that was Aralamb. This is me speaking. I have had a lot of loss in my life. I just have. And I can tell you that what Aralamb is saying there is that it's one of the hardest things to think about, because when you have a loss of someone that you love, that you are in love with, that you love, when you have that loss, what you feel like is that, and I know that some of you will completely understand what I'm saying, when you've lost them, you feel like that you need to stay in the loss piece because it somehow keeps them close to you. And from a spiritual and even a physical level, the exact opposite is true. You've got to come to a place where you, yes, maybe you keep a few of their things, but you've got to come to the place where you think, okay, they've passed over. I'm still here. What's going to be the most selfless thing that I can do for them, right? For them to move forward. The most selfless giving thing that I can do is start to let myself heal, let myself feel joy again, be grateful that they were in my life, and be grateful for the lessons that I'm learning, and then move forward, loving them still, but moving forward. And I know that it's difficult and it can feel like a hole that you cannot climb out of. But I hope that Airlam's thoughts on this, and I hope that the things that we've said today will at least give you the opportunity to reframe your grief and your loss in a way that gives you power to make changes in your life, but also the person that you left. If you know that by healing yourself and loving them through that healing is going to help them, then that makes you powerful in the grief. It gives you something that you can physically do to break up the grief and begin to move forward. So thank you for being here today. As always, I love all of you that you follow me. I love that Aralamb and I can speak with you, and I know that sometimes it is with difficult subject matter, and I know that this is, and I pray and hope and send out healing energy to any one of you who are listening. And it has to be most of you, because rarely does a human being get out of a lifetime with no grief, no loss. But think about this spiritually and energetically in this way, because it begins to free you and give you a palpable, real, fundamental thing to do, something to do to begin to heal. All right, you guys, have a great, hopefully some of you are having a long weekend. Have a great long weekend. Big, beautiful souls.